Breaking news, we have a trade today in the NBA. And while it may not be exactly what most people are expecting, which is a Kevin Durant trade, later on in the video, we will cover the latest news about Kevin Durant and the fact that the Suns may have to keep him or may wind up keeping him. Who knows what happens? But ultimately, though, we have a new trade reported from Shams. And the cool thing about this one is that it includes a team that's currently playing in the NBA Finals, right? So anyway, the Indiana Pacers are trading the number 23 pick and the rights to Mojave King to the New Orleans Pelicans for Indiana's own 2026 first round pick back, which the Pelicans had previously acquired. So they're trading for their pick back for next season. So they're giving up this year's selection at 23 and the rights to Mojave King to get back their pick next year. All right. So New Orleans now owns the number 7 and 23 selection in the first round of the draft as well. So there's a couple of different layers to this. So firstly, you're going to say, well, why would the Pacers do this? What is this accomplishing? So firstly, by not having that pick and making that selection, they don't have the cap hold that comes along with that. And so that gives them increased flexibility to position themselves in a way that they're able to re-sign Turner to a number that he would like, and obviously a number that works for both parties involved, but also maintain their position around the aprons and stuff like that. So that's the most important thing for them, is just getting that flexibility. That's not to say that they won't make any other moves, of course, in the offseason, because they've got multiple decisions to make, and maybe they try to retool this roster after a probable, I guess, at this point, because like a 74% chance they lose, probable loss in the finals at this point. So maybe that's the way that they try to make this go. But for the Pelicans, I think this is also pretty interesting, because now you've got number 7, number 23. Do you decide to make those selections, keep those players, or do you decide to maybe package those together? Maybe they can get it done by themselves, but maybe you need to put another piece in there. I don't know. Or maybe you package 23 with another piece and keep 7. Regardless, do you decide to make some decisions around these picks and try to potentially move up in the draft, or go get another piece from another team that will be interested in these selections to improve your current roster? Like, you've got a lot of different options. Like, can you put together 7 and 23 and move up to 5? I don't know. Right? Like, that's hypothetical, theoretical. It's a possibility. Likely, it depends on how much that other team feels like they like that guy and they feel like they can still get him at 7, right? But I think that they've got a lot of flexibility with this, and that's an interesting decision to make for them. And for the Pacers, again, they're just kind of kicking the can down the road for next season. They're going to make a pick next year. So anyway, moving on from that, we're going to talk a little bit about Kevin Durant. But if you haven't already, make sure you do hit that thumbs up and subscribe here to the Basketball Bulletin, where Trevor Lane and I keep you guys locked in with all the news like this as it comes out, and more as around the NBA as we get that information. Okay, so let's move on to the Kevin Durant piece. And we had Brian Windhorst say that he wouldn't rule out the Suns considering keeping Kevin Durant. I would not rule out the Suns not being able to get a trade they like and having to make a decision like, do we not trade him at all? And I've said this before, and it kind of doesn't get talked about enough, but that is a possibility. Like, that is on the table. Like, I know KD would like to go here. We've got the destinations, all that stuff. And he's got the leverage piece of it, where it's like, if you trade me here, I'm going to tell that team I'm not going to resign. And so it's up to that team to decide if they want to give up all these assets or young players, whatever is in the mix of the trade, for a rental of KD, right? And then even if you get KD, are you damn certain that a 36, 37-year-old KD is exactly what you need to win now? Like, because you are winning now. You don't have a lot of leeway with this. Like, he's got maybe a couple years. He probably maybe plays till 40. I don't know. I think his skill set will be fine. Of course, he's crazy good shooter. Like, you could give KD a basketball at 45 and he can still get you 15 points, I bet. But, that being said, like, your runway isn't all that long, especially with him, like I said, being somebody that's dealt with some injuries, all that stuff. You need to be sure that if you're trading for KD, you're winning now. And with that uncertainty, I think that there's a possibility that teams are going to say, yeah, no, we don't want to give up all this stuff because we need to make sure we have all this stuff around. And secondly, he's not going to stay here for very long. We don't want to give you up. We don't want to give up like a Stephon Castle. We don't want to give you some of these other young pieces we may have. And some of those young pieces are sticking points, like a Kelly Ware in some of these trades, right? And so That is an option. That is on the table. They may have to say, KD, we didn't have a deal that we like. They said they want to go out and get everything they can and get the best deal back for the franchise, which I completely agree with. I completely understand that. That is the right mindset, particularly because, I mean, if you're Phoenix, you're like, okay, we know you're KD, you're a mega star, all that stuff, but you ain't done nothing here. Like there's, like, that's the harsh reality of it. Like he's KD, but he ain't done. It's not like he's been there for 10, 12 years and they're going to do right by him and all this stuff. They don't have to do that, right? That's the reality of the situation. And so maybe there's a situation where they say, okay, we'll come back mid-season, right? And we'll see where things are and we'll try to trade you then and go from there. Maybe you've played up your value. Maybe you've been really healthy. Team is like, okay, we need KD right now. Some of the records have started to set in a little bit as we get closer to All-Star break. Teams can see more clearly what they do or don't have and decide whether or not KD is the piece they're missing. There's also the nuclear option that we get to that point where they don't trade him and they say, hey, we're sorry you're unhappy. Don't report. Just stay home. Like that's a thing too. Teams do that all the time. That's a thing too, right? So like, while he has destinations, I think they have to make the best decision possible. I also wonder if the Desmond Bane trade maybe ruined perception of a trade on KD. Remember, I was on here saying, I asked you guys, I said, what is Kevin Durant's trade value? Like, I don't know how to gauge it because he is Kevin Durant. He's got that sticker shock value, cachet, still one of the best shooters in the NBA, can still average like 27, 5 and 5 last year. Like he's Kevin Durant. He's still able to do what you mostly need him to do. So I don't know what the trade value is. And then some people were comparing it to like the Jimmy Butler trade and maybe something like that. Okay, fine. But Jimmy didn't net back basically 5 firsts or 4 in a swap, whatever that was. And yeah, you could say the KCP drove that price up because he's a bad contract. But regardless, the trade still had all those firsts in there. And I was thinking maybe a team would be lucky to get back 2 firsts for KD. And so if you saw that trade in your Phoenix, you say all the things I've said, the points, all that stuff, you're probably telling the team, hey, yeah, sorry, give us 2 firsts and 2 swaps, plus a young guy. You shoot for the moon and come down a little bit, fine. Okay, instead of 2 and 2 and 1, well, just give us 1 swap, a first, 4 seconds, and a young guy. Like, what's the middle ground here? Like, what are you doing, right? And even that could potentially be talked about as being a lot. And so there's a possibility that they're not able to find exactly what they want because the reality is for the Suns, they want a lot of things. They want flexibility. They want young guys. They want to be competitive. Like they want so many things out of this that I don't know that they can get all of that in one fell swoop. Like I don't know. So we'll see what happens. So on the topic of a trade, there was a report earlier on the Pat McAfee show from Shams that the Rockets and Heat are more realistic landing spots for KD than the Spurs at the moment. So the thing is the Spurs are doing quite literally the exact De'Aaron Fox playbook thing that they did. KD has had it known that that's his preferred destination. He would love to go to San Antonio, right? Some of that's just because there's a lot of different reasons why people speculate as to why, but a lot of people are saying it's because the college stuff and all that stuff. He would love to go back there. Okay, perfect. But if you're San Antonio, you know that. The Suns know that. So you're like, well, he wants to be here. So we're not going to give you X, Y, and Z. We're going to give you this other stuff, and you're going to be happy with it. Take it or leave it. That's quite literally the exact same thing with De'Aaron Fox. And so at that point, if you're the Suns, you have a decision to make. Are you going to settle for that or try to find something else, which, again, we've already talked about. They want to find what's best. And so the Rockets are intriguing because they can offer them back their own picks, right? Multiple, I guess. But they can get back some of their own picks, which gives them flexibility in terms of like if they decide to rebuild, it would be on their own terms. That is probably the best team for them to trade with, period. Right? They can also potentially get back some players that could be usable for them, a Jalen Green, a Dylan Brooks, or whatever the case is. You know, there's some questions about a fit between a Brooks or a Green and Booker, but you can get back some players that could potentially be usable for you in matching salary. And again, maybe this includes a third team. Who knows what you ultimately wind up getting as part of this trade. And for the Heat, it's a similar situation where like you can ask for certain players back that could be good and helpful with flexibility and also be a part of your team right now, which is another thing that they want. So those are probably the best landing spots or best trade partners, excuse me, for them, which is why they're more likely than the Spurs. I wouldn't completely discount the Spurs. There's also been reports of other teams like the Clippers lurking around. Who knows, right? Maybe another team swoops in after watching this finals and says, we need to have KD to beat the Thunder. And let's pull this off, right? Maybe the nuclear thing happens and they somehow lose in the finals of Thunder and they're like, yeah, get us Kevin Durant because we've got $1 billion first-round picks. Like, let's just make that happen. I don't expect that. Of course, I'm just spitballing. But, I think that they don't have to make this decision now. I can understand why they would want to make it sooner than later because of the draft. They want to maybe know what direction they're going in, etc. But I think the worst thing that they can do for Phoenix is just rush this process. If you need to wait, then sorry, KD. You just organizationally, you've got to just be stone cold about it and do what's best for you. So it is what it is, but quite a lot in this all. Let me know what you guys think about some of the things we talked about in today's video. Make sure to thumbs up and subscribe, and we'll see you all in the next video.